All right. So there was a lot of reporting that NVIDIA and AMD got permission to sell their generation behind, slightly dumbed down chips in China. And then over the weekend, Jason, reporting came out from FT and others that the Trump administration, to actually offer up those export licenses, has demanded a 15% revenue share in effect. And there's quite a lot of divergent opinions about this. I was a little surprised by it, and I'm curious what your take is on the news.
Okay. So we know that this administration cares deeply about generating revenue. They love business, less regulation, pro-business, and they like negotiating. President Trump likes to negotiate. Mm-hmm. So this is non-traditional, but we do have licenses that we auction off for, television stations and Spectrum. Yeah, so that exists as a concept. So I was trying to think when I heard this on CNBC today, if I could find an analogy, which is a way humans like to figure this out. Has this been done before? Is there any precedent? That was the closest precedent I could get to, was a license to do certain things in society, and you pay tax. So if you have a hotel in New York, hotel taxes, and a license to operate a hotel is pretty expensive, right? Like I think you pay 7, 8, 9%. I remember it's like a major cost. So the most charitable version of this is it's a licensing fee. The most aggressive negative view of it would be it's a shakedown, which I've heard some people say.
Yeah.
So does everybody who wants to do business have to go to the White House to get a license to do things? Well, if you live in a city like New York, Los Angeles, they do shake you down for a license to do everything. And in fact, these kind of licenses are what revolutions are made of. My understanding of the Egyptian Spring, or what do they call that? Arab Spring in Egypt, was that it came from, and my memory could be off here, but Arab Spring was one of the sparks from that was somebody was a fruit seller and they didn't have a license, and there was a big back and forth of like, shouldn't this person be able to sell fruit from their, farm?
It was Mohammed Bouazizi, a 26-year-old street vendor. He was in Tunisia. He set himself on fire after the police confiscated his fruit cart and also allegedly insulted and humiliated him. And then that act of frustration, according to producer Lon, kicked off basically the Arab Spring.
Okay, so I did remember it correctly. And so you can't squeeze too hard. And listen, both of these parties like to extract money from corporations. So I don't think this is unique to President Trump or the 47th administration. I think this is unique to, and thank you to producer Claude for helping out with that quick lookup for me. Thank you, producer Claude, always ready at our fingertips to get us information. If you haven't used Claude, man, that's just, it's unbelievable how good it is. Shout out to my friends there. And I actually set my common browser to use producer Claude because I wasn't happy with the other ones. Both. I'm going to take away party here. I think the responsiveness to this is what makes people, and who's doing it makes it notable. The fact that the president is so obsessed with generating revenue for the country that people feel that it's kind of king-like. It feels more mercurial to people. So then I think to myself, trying to be objective, trying to be Captain Nuance, trying to look at this from as an independent moderate's point of view, is this any different than a bunch of senators, congressmen, or local authorities doing it? It's different, but the outcome's the same. I just don't like the bespoke nature of it, maybe. So I would like the executive branch to work with the Congress and the House on these type of things and make it a more thoughtful process. But I do appreciate the speed. What do you think, Alex?
Well, it worries me a little bit.
Okay.
Because the way this shook down or shook out, I suppose, is NVIDIA was blocked from selling H20 chips in China. And H20 chips were already the ones they dumbed down via Biden administration rules to be, reasonable for China. Took an enormous $4.5 billion charge. They were going to give up $8 billion in revenue because they couldn't sell them anymore. And then they convinced Trump to turn them back on.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. Time passes. Then Jensen has to call Trump last Wednesday to get this permission. And then Trump today said he actually wanted to take 20% of the revenue, not 15%. So to me, setting export restrictions that are predicated on national security concerns and doing away with that as a way to generate near-term revenue at the expense of very specific corporations seems to be a very bad way to do business, because there's no clarity, there's no regularity to it. It's bespoke to your phrase, and that's not the way I think we should do business. Also, I don't think the government should get to just say, here's your business, we're going to take 1/6 of it. Because, Jason, $8 billion in H20 sales this quarter was what they said they were going to lose. Okay, 15% is $1.2 billion. That's basically $13.3 million a day on a quarterly basis that the government's just going to take from NVIDIA, which means that
it also creates, I think you're kind of dead on with this. It creates the impression or the expectation that anytime you want to do business, you got to visit the White House.
Yeah.
And I'm not, as much as I like the president extracting reciprocity in the tariffs and moving quickly to generate revenue and hopefully control the budget, in their mind, they're going to generate so much more revenue that we're not going to increase the deficit. There's a poly market on that with the tariff revenue. We talked about it on this week's All In. They're trending towards winning that poly market I set up for. They're halfway to hitting the poly market I set up for $250 billion in tariff revenue in the first year of these tariffs. If they do that, that's quite an impressive task. So, their view, and I guess maybe this is found money. If you're, what is the percentage it says that they'll do this? The chance that
15% chance that they'll actually
they're halfway there, folks. I don't know why people aren't plowing money into the other side of this. If they're halfway there, they're going to hit the 250. This could be free money. Maybe it's a lightly traded market.
You even have your own little verified check mark on Polymarket. I didn't know that. Look at you.
So we did a partnership on All In with Polymarket, and we have one here on This Week in Startups, so we can create Polymarkets in our partnership with them. Founders, you got a lot on your plate. You're running a company, and that means you have endless tasks to get done, and you're juggling a ton of priorities, all while trying to hit your KPIs. That's why I love Coda for keeping everything under control. It's the all-in-one platform that consolidates your documents, your spreadsheets, your apps into a single scalable workspace with a beautiful, intuitive UI. Coda helps define planning sessions so you don't lose focus, and it creates flexible agendas so you can adapt to shifting priorities. It's going to help you set your OKRs, and you get access to hundreds of templates for tasks like setting priorities and mapping dependencies. We use Coda every day at Twist for important projects like the Twist 500 and Founder University. It's truly an all-in-one hub for startups. Head over to coda.io/twist right now, and you're going to get 6 months of the team plan for startups for free. That's coda.io/TWIST to get 6 months of the team plan for free. Coda.io/twist.